I'm David McDonald, and I am post-abortive, and I'd like to just tell you a little story about that. I was climbing a ladder of success. I was in New York City, and I was on Broadway in a show. I had done 2 movies, one for Paramount Pictures, one for Columbia Pictures. And I had a career that I was really proud of, and my parents were really proud of this career that I had. I didn't know God back then. I was into the God of fame and the God of money. And my girlfriend was a medical doctor. She was also a professional dancer. She practiced medicine in Montreal in the summers to pay for her acting and dancing education in New York City in the winters. And she was being considered to be the first woman in space. This was in the 80s. And we were not practicing chastity. I didn't even know. If you would have asked me what that word meant, I don't think I could have answered it. And so she was on the pill. And one of the things they don't tell you in sex education class is that the pill doesn't always work. The contraception actually doesn't always work. In fact, it fails a lot. It's not a solution to pregnancy. And she came to me and she said, "David, I'm pregnant." And I looked at her and I said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And she looked at me and she said, "What do you want to do?" And we went back and forth like this. I called my mother. My mother to this day is in favor of legalized abortion, I'm afraid to say. And I said to my mother, the grandmother of this child, I said, "Ma, what do you think I should do? We're thinking about abortion." She goes, "Well, you know, you could do your family later." See, there's this myth that when we have a pregnancy, that we're not already a father. I already was a father. It wasn't a question of whether I was a potential father. I was a father. And my girlfriend was a mother at that moment. She was a mother. The decision was not, well, are we going to become parents or not? The decision is, what are we going to do about the fact that we are parents already? We went through with the abortion. And the night that she got home from the clinic, she phoned me. She went to Montreal to have the abortion, and I was in New York. And she said, "David, when I was on that operating table, and they were removing my little baby piece by piece, I felt this overwhelming urge to say, 'Put that back.'" She could not deny her motherhood. Even with all of her education and her medical training and everything, she just could not deny her motherhood. And after that, she went into a bad drug addiction. And I went off into a bunch of cocaine and drinking and alcohol and every kind of drug I could think of. I fell into a terrible eating disorder. I got anorexic bulimia. And so I started to tumble. And here I had this big career. I was in the U.S. National Tour of Cats. I played the rock and roll cat in Cats. And we were opening up in Chicago. And right before the opening, I blew my voice out completely in Philadelphia. I got really sick from all the drugs and the drinking and the eating disorder. And that was the end of my career. I blew my voice out completely and I wrote on a notepad. For 3 years I couldn't talk. I had no voice. That was the end of my career. I was 24 years old. The very thing that I tried to save in my career by the abortion ended up turning its back on me and costing me my career. The Lord had had enough of my arrogance and my self-centeredness. And it was a long journey to healing after that. And I remember walking by a church and walking in a church and laying down in front of the cross for the first time in my life. A church I thought was a cold stone building full of hypocrites. But I was wrong, because I found the Lord in that church. And I lay down in front of the cross and said, God, you can have my life. You can have everything about me. You can have my future, and please take my past. And I felt this incredible power come over me. It was like I put my finger in a wall socket. The incredible energy that God poured out on me. And I began to heal from the abortion. I began to heal. And fast forward to just 2 weeks ago, to just give you an idea of the longevity to this. This happened 10 years ago. This healing was 10 years ago. But the healing is ongoing. And 2 weeks ago, I woke up in the middle of a nightmare. And in this nightmare, I had my foot on the gas pedal of a car, and I was driving the car, and I saw these kids coming through an intersection, and I tried to put my foot on the brake, but the brake wouldn't work, and I kept on going forward and forward into the intersection. And I hit this little girl, bang, and all of a sudden her face pressed up against the windshield, her little broken face with all the blood, and she stared at me in her death. And I woke up and I said, Lord, what is this? And I heard this voice in my head saying, David, that's your little girl. And then I saw this image in my mind's eye of Mother Mary holding a little baby, a girl. And I said, who's that, Mother Mary? And I heard, this is your daughter. And I said, can I speak to her? Can I speak to her? Can I speak to her? And Mary said, yes, you can. And on that day, an incredible healing happened. Spiritually, I met my daughter. And so I'll go to the ends of the earth, if must be, to talk about the message of saying yes to life. That the answer to pregnancy is not abortion. The answer to pregnancy is responsibility and life. Thank you.